This week, both former President Donald Trump and Facebook took a slapdown from Facebook's own Oversight board. While Trump is still formally banned from the site, the board also said Facebook shirked its duty. It was right after the events of January 6th when Facebook banished President Trump from its platform.
This is stunning. Facebook is his baby.
It was, but citing Trump's role in the Capitol riots, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg said the risks of allowing the president to continue to use our service during this period are just too great. The ban was indefinite and got sent to Facebook's independent oversight board for review, which issued its ruling this week.
The board has found that the suspension of former President Trump was necessary to keep people safe, that the actions of the former president encouraged and legitimized violence and constituted what the board has termed a severe violation of the Facebook rules.
However, says Oversight Board Director Thomas Hughes, Facebook was vague and arbitrary in the suspension.
And it needs to come back and impose a new penalty that is consistent with its own rules.
But most analysts say the outcome of the permanent ban is uncertain.
So I would not say as of now that we can confidently say the former president is banned from Facebook and Instagram for life.
Meanwhile, Ralph Nader's group, Public Citizen, sent a letter to Mark Zuckerberg demanding answers about algorithms, policies, and technical features that spurred those who took part in the Capitol insurrection, saying it's Facebook's duty to analyze and share that information with the public. Well, Susie, I hope somebody follows up on that, because Public Citizen is absolutely right. And I was struck by the fact that this oversight board was very specific, that Donald Trump did indeed incite a riot. And furthermore, that they're telling Facebook, they're questioning their own outfit, saying, why didn't you follow your own rules and policies? And you have 6 months to figure this out. They could do it next week. They have up to 6 months to figure out what kind of a punishment they should institute, and it has to be along the lines of their own policy.
Yeah, I mean, this just gets to a core issue about Facebook, right? It has extremely arbitrary rules. Nobody really knows what those rules are. They're incredibly opaque. And they set up this oversight board to literally dodge the responsibility of having to make these tough decisions. And the oversight board, to their credit, was like, this is your job. Figure out what your rules are, and then we can decide whether or not you've adhered to them. And I think, look, I actually do think that Donald Trump incited violence. I mean, it's not really a free speech issue, right? Facebook's a private company. You can't go into a movie theater and scream fire. Donald Trump essentially spent months screaming fire on Twitter and Facebook, and he paid a price for that. But it's hardly like he's being censored. I mean, the man still can go on Fox News literally at the drop of a hat and access his audience anytime he wants. So I sort of feel like this is one of those red herring things where conservatives spent all week sort of screaming that this was censorship. But the reality is if you look at the top 10 posts on Facebook on any given week, it is Ben Shapiro, who's a conservative commentator. It is Fox News. It is Sean Hannity. It is Dan Bongino, who's an aggressive Trumper. 90% of the posts on Facebook are actually top posts are conservative. So, it's not like Facebook is trying to shut out conservative thought. They're just saying there are rules here. Now they just have to make those rules clearer.
Well, this is the same week that Trump set up a blog, and no one is suggesting that he can be censored on the open internet. He can't, nor should he be. So it is kind of a red herring because we treat Facebook as an entirely different beast. I want to pick up on the Public Citizen statement because it reflects reporting that was done by BuzzFeed News a few weeks ago that showed that Facebook had done an internal report that they haven't released that showed that several of these right-wing insurrectionist groups had made use of Facebook as their principal organizing platform. Mm-hmm. And their own employees couldn't get a look at this report. So BuzzFeed did have a copy of the report, and they posted that. So, I mean, Facebook continues to be just an ongoing mess. And what the Oversight Board did with Trump this week is just a small part of that story.
Yeah, I mean, as some of our viewers will remember, and as you guys will probably remember, the older I get, the more cynical I am about the effect that Facebook has had on American culture and American democracy. I think they're a huge part of a problem that we're facing moving forward. So That being said, full disclosure, I just love the karmic aspect of this. I love the oversight board that Mark Zuckerberg put in place to try to dodge responsibility, as he's tried to dodge responsibility ever since he set up a site that was supposed to let Harvard undergrads say, who they thought was cute. He has never wanted to be held accountable for what happens on his site. He's always wanted to be able to pass the buck. And I just love that an entity he created himself said, no, actually, this is your job, and you got to fix this. So I'm taking, as you can tell, maybe inordinate satisfaction in that plot twist.
I think the thing that frustrates me with this story is, the call from conservatives that this is about, Facebook trying to silence the voices of conservatives. And when you look at what Donald Trump did and what he incited, from my perspective, this was not something about conservative or liberal. This was someone who just really screwed up. It said a lot of things that went well beyond the line, and it had absolutely nothing to do with politics. And to the point that has already been made, there are a lot of conservative voices that you can still hear, even those that are extreme, that you see on Facebook. Just this week, as I was going, through Facebook, looking at what different people were saying about different things, whether it's, wearing masks, whether it's about the vaccine, you still see very strong voices out there, extreme voices, if you will. And so, again, I don't think that this isn't about that. It is about specifically what Donald Trump was able to do. Now, I'm not defending Facebook here. As everyone has pointed out already, Facebook has made a lot of mistakes. They're all screwed up. They can't get it right. When they do something to correct it, that's wrong. And so, Facebook, I don't think we're going to hear the last of this in terms of how Facebook needs to fix itself. But I think Republicans are looking in the wrong direction when they criticize this as
billions of people still like to look at their bird photos on Facebook. So
they still do.
Unfortunately, they also like to read QAnon theories.
And the QAnon theories, yeah. Birds and QAnon.